It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of September 1st, 1995. I forgot what date this was. But we're here on Labor Day weekend, and usually Labor Day weekend... Actually, no, the last couple of years, Labor Day weekends actually put out some decent films, but for the longest time, Labor Day weekend was kind of the dumping ground for movies that were not seen as potential blockbusters or films that would warrant any big money. And we have three films here that are kind of belong in that category. So let's jump on into it. Let's start off with the first movie that we have here, probably the most successful of the three, which really isn't saying a whole lot. Christopher Walken, starring in the thriller The Prophecy. And I say that only on a certain level because, of course, this film was not a gigantic hit. I think it only made like $16 million, and despite opening up to, I think, $7 million. But it eventually did go on to have a series of movies come out, mostly direct-to-video films. I think there were four of them, actually. And I've never, ever seen these movies. I'm aware of their existence. I know that these movies exist because I keep seeing the DVDs for this with Christopher Walken's face on it. Like how you go into a store and you'll see Mill Creek titles, and The Prophecy will be one of them. Sometimes they'll have the whole series in one set. I think Paramount also put one out when they bought the Miramax library, and I really know nothing about this movie. And for a movie where you have Christopher Walken starring in this movie as an archangel and a guy that is a murderous angel at best, you would think I would know this movie more, but I hardly ever hear anybody talk about this movie, honestly. And and just from that trailer alone, there really is nothing all that exciting about this movie. I mean, it's got a stacked cast. I mean, not only you have Walken, but you also have Elias Koteas, Virginia Madsen, Eric Stoltz, Viggo Mortensen, Amanda Plummer. You got a pretty good cast in here, but there's just nothing about that movie that looks promising whatsoever. I mean, who knows? I mean, it must have had some kind of a following because they made four other movies in the series, but I really know nothing about this movie, honestly, and really, I have never had the real intention to actually go in and see this movie. I love Christopher Walken. I'll watch anything he's in, but even in something like this, there's nothing about this that looks promising whatsoever. It looks like a pretty lame movie, honestly, but who knows? I could be entirely wrong on that front, but that's just my thinking behind that one, so... Haven't seen it, can't really say too much about it. So, The Prophecy was a big new release of the weekend, which really isn't saying a whole lot. On to the next movie, and that is Magic in the Water. And just watch and see how many knockoffs you can see here in this particular trailer, because, oh boy, it was a rough one. So you noticed E.T., obviously. I mean, it literally says an E.T.-like fantasy, which it's not an E.T.-like fantasy. It's a straight-up ripoff of E.T. There's a little bit of Free Willy in there with the environmental message. Even the marketing for this movie takes some other source material. Like, you would think the poster would be a little more creative, but tell me if this poster looks familiar to you. I'm going to show you it right now. Yeah. Little Mermaid much? That's the poster for The Little Mermaid, pretty much, except instead of Ariel sitting on a rock, it's Ariel sitting on top of the monster. And, I just can't believe that they did not even try to hide the fact that they were ripping off so many different movies. It helped that the movie is not very good either. I mean, you've got some notable names in here. I mean, you see Mark Harmon there. You see Joshua Jackson pre-Dawson's Creek. Tom Cavanaugh is in this as well. So is Harley Jane Kozak. But, man, I thought Mac and Me was the worst. Okay, maybe Mac and Me is still the worst E.T. knockoff ever, but this comes pretty damn close. I mean, the movie is abysmal. It's an abysmally made film. Like, it's a film that just has to take from so many other source materials, like at different movies, and be like, okay, and be like, we could do this in our own movie. And the magic in the water barely even shows up in the freaking movie. Like, you barely see this creature, and when they show it to you, it looks like Barney the dinosaur. It's like, it's just so cheesy. It's so lazy on so many levels. I never thought I would see a knockoff of E.T. that would make Mac and Me that would come close to being as bad as Mac and Me, but this is pretty damn bad. Like, this is a horrendous movie on so many levels. Like, it's no wonder why they had those quotes in there to make people try to go see this movie, but it didn't work because the film crashed and burned at the box office, and hardly anybody ever talks about it, and probably for good reason, because the movie is complete and utter bullshit. Yeah, not much more I can say about this one. Magic in the Water is pretty much bullshit. So, let's wrap this one up here. Let's move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Anthony Hopkins, Campbell Scott, Isabella Rossellini, starring in The Innocent. So this was a film directed by John Schlesinger of Midnight Cowboy fame. It was actually made in 1993, but spent 12 months in studio quarantine before finally getting released in theaters in September of 95. No screenings for critics, which is usually not a very good sign, but I don't know, the movie doesn't look that terrible, and judging by the reviews I see for it, it doesn't look like it has really bad reviews for it. It's just not very, it just doesn't seem like a film that's really doing anything unique or different. I think it's trying to be kind of the Cold War equivalent to Casablanca in a way, and I think some people actually mentioned that in the review for this. I haven't seen this movie, so I don't really know too much about it, but you got Anthony Hopkins, you got Isabella Rossellini, you got Campbell Scott, you have Hart Bochner in here as well. A decent-sized cast overall, and the idea isn't too bad. It's basically a film that centers around the height of the Cold War and a joint CIA MI6 real-life Operation Gold mission building a tunnel under the Russian sector of Berlin. So there could be some interesting ideas there, but judging by the fact that this movie did not get screened for critics and it's been sitting on a shelf for a couple of years, I'm guessing the movie's not that great. It doesn't look like the worst, but it definitely looks like something that could be something that's not as great as they thought it was going to be. I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I mean, I've seen much worse that look like this, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really say too much about it. So that is The Innocent. So with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll have 5 new movies to look at, including To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, with Patrick Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo all in drag. We also have The Tie That Binds, Last of the Dogmen, National Lampoon's Senior Trip, and also Nico Icon. So 5 movies to look at next time around, and we will do that on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.